things that really made a difference for the field or the economy or the country, the place, but nobody got it except the people that were actually designing it. And the experts got it wrong. For example, looking back, if you were to, say, Amazon, if you were to invest it, would you invest in Amazon now? In 1999, you could buy 100 shares for 150 bucks. That 150 bucks is worth $3.6 million right now. It's basically doubled every 2 years. So looking back, you'd go, yeah, I want to do that. So we're going to look at that, and then we're going to look at things, how the experts took it, and the leaders in those industries commented on it. And then we're going to apply it to Bitcoin. So quick intro. I studied finance in college. I was a real estate appraiser for years and years and years and years. I knew stocks. I had my Series 3 futures broker's license. So it was kind of a, I don't know, I would think of myself as like a financial guy. I knew finance, okay? In 2010 and 2011, around there, my brother came up to me and said, Jeff, have you heard about this Bitcoin penny stock that's selling for about 25 cents? And I said, you know, I'm a financial guy, right? Greg, do not ever buy penny stocks, ever. So he didn't, and neither did I. Fail in a big way. But I revisited it in 2015, just pure. I go, okay, I'm gonna go buy a Bitcoin. I'm gonna go buy one Bitcoin. Didn't know how to do it. I went on Craigslist, found this guy that was gonna sell me one. He said, okay, I will. Let's meet at Starbucks. Bring your money and your phone, and I'll give you a Bitcoin. I went, cool. So I met him at Starbucks. He said, give me your money, give me your phone. He took my money, he did some things with my phone and his phone, did like this, got in his car and drove off. I'm like, I came here with my money and my phone, and now I have my phone. I just got ripped off. I went back to my house, researched a little bit more. Bitcoin Steve is what I call him now. He's a great guy, good friend of mine now, and he did give me a Bitcoin. So it was a win in 2015. Okay, since 2015, this is interesting because in 2015 I got my first Bitcoin. Along the way, I got bit by the art bug. And it's interesting because I'm going to bring up why the art is important, if you've seen some of the art out here. In Miami, some of you were in Miami, they had a whole section of art, and it was Bitcoin, mostly Bitcoin art. And it was really, really inspirational and creative. So along the way, this is the part where I'm going to brag. I'm going to brag now. I got that piece. And it was pure luck on my part. I mean, I was pure luck again. And there's 10 of those in the world. That's number 4. I got it right before this guy and his friend got number 5 and number 6. And I've got a couple other iconic pieces. One is that one right there. Really, really cool, great story. You all know it, right? When Yellen was just opposing getting audited, the Fed getting audited, right? And yeah, right there. And then I've designed one myself. I don't know if some of you saw that in Miami. That's one I got. Look at that, really. So, quick story about this. Monopoly was designed in 1935. And those are the original companies. Those are the bills from 1935. In the early 2000s, our Treasury colored our money. It used to be all green, but they colored it. And they colored it like that. I mean, come on. The color palettes that you can see in like Word or Excel, it has 141 color possible combinations. The chances of those colors showing up just like that is like 5 billion to 1. So someone at the Treasury actually designed it that way. They had to. I mean, it's just impossible for that to turn out that way. So they're not on our side at all. Amazing. Okay, so I'm going to go back real quick about history, okay? I'm going to start in the Middle Ages, 400 to 1400. And in 400, the Roman Empire collapsed. and left a void that was filled by the Catholic Church, lords, ladies, kings, queens, and noble people. But look how long that is. That's 1,000 years of this upper echelon people that led everything, and then the lower people with the serfs that was stuck like that. That's 30 to 50 generations. I don't even know 3 generations ago who my relatives are. But that's a long, long time, 1,000 years, to be stuck in kind of an area that had no innovation, nothing really going. It was just kind of blah. That's why they call it the Dark Ages. So, early modern, from 1400 to 1800, which includes the Industrial Revolution, towards the later part of that. But something happened in this time frame that made a big difference and brought in a feeling, a buzz of excitement and learning and education. And during this time, people have said it's the best time for human beings regarding art. Some of the most beautiful things that have been created during that time. For example, Da Vinci, Mona Lisa, Claude Monet, Van Gogh, Rembrandt. By the way, this one, stolen in 1990, still hasn't been recovered. And Sistine Chapel from Da Vinci. I mean, beautiful, beautiful. You can go on forever and talk about all the art during that time. So that's why I bring it up, because the art in the Bitcoin community is kind of like that. There's an excitement about it. Like, wow, something's happening. And the art is there to move it along. People get creative. I'm not sure. I've never been to one, but I would say that there's not a big art display at a banking conference, right? I mean, no way. But here, people are excited. They're innovative. They get creative. They get freed up. And what did it in the 1400s was this. Gutenberg came out and with a printing press. And it was really, really awesome, because before that, if you wanted to get a copy of a book, Bibles and educational material, you could write out and get a few pages a day. If you used a kind of a hand manual print, it was 40 a day, but this thing cranked it out 3,600 pages in a day. So in 60 years, there was 20 million volumes in Europe, got spread out all over the place, and people started to get educated. The serfs got drawn out of being poor. They started to get excited about, they got educated, they could read, and they started to question everything. And by 1600, there was 150 to 200 million volumes had been produced. That's a lot. Needless to say, politicians and religious leaders did not like that. They were concerned that their power was going to go right through their hands, because the people were starting to learn. Kind of like today with our governments not letting the people know what's available to them, keeping them poor. So, and then after that was late modern time, when all the education and the new ways of thinking got put into place, and machines were invented, which accelerated all the products that were available for people, and the standard of living went right through the roof. And then in the 1950s, computers were developed, and we're in the information age now. So we're going to talk about, let's get right into it. In the late modern part of history, inventors invented things, and then people came along and said, what if I can do that better? What if I can do this? And then the experts that had either a vested interest in the technology that they had already were there, or they had a financial interest or something, made comments on these things. So let's get right into it. Edison, the guy invented the light bulb, okay? He's a smart guy. Smart guy. Can you read that in the back? Okay, I'm going to read it. So Thomas said, the light bulb inventor insisted his own direct current system, DC, was superior to competitor George Westinghouse's AC power, and Edison took every opportunity to discredit the alternating current. This is what he said. Fooling around with alternating current is just a waste of time. Nobody will use it, ever. It's used worldwide. AC's everywhere. And that's Thomas Edison making a comment on it. So why I'm going to do these, and point this out, is when people talk about Bitcoin, And from whatever position, you got to listen to what they say and where they're coming from. I mean, this guy's an expert with electricity, and he got it so wrong, it's unbelievable. William Preece from the British Post Office. This guy was motivated. He's in the post office, right? His gig is, excuse me, mail, like mail. Telephone came along. He went, the Americans have a need for the telephone, but we do not. We have plenty of messenger boys. This guy, one of my favorite people, William Morton, president of Western Union in 1876, when Alexander Graham Bell tried to sell his telephone invention to Western Union. This is the president of Western Union. This is what he said. This telephone has too many shortcomings to be seriously considered as a means of communication. The device is inherently of no value to us. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to put that slide in there. This guy, Lord Kelvin, a mathematical physicist, he actually determined the absolute value of zero. This guy's no dummy, okay? It's actually named after him. There's Fahrenheit, Celsius, and Kelvin. That's him. He said this: heavier than air, flying machines are impossible. I don't think so. The president of Michigan Savings Bank advising Henry Ford's lawyer not to invest in the Ford Motor Company in 1903. This is what he said: the horse is here to stay, but the automobile is only a novelty, a fad. That is a Ford GT right there. One of the classic ones of all time. Economist Irving Fisher, in October 1929, 3 days before the stock market crash that triggered the Great Depression, said this: stock prices have reached what looks like a permanently high plateau. Come on. This guy was well known and well listened to. People listened to his advice. This guy, he was this Boeing engineer in 1933. He helped design this plane. It was originally designed to carry 14 passengers. It ended up carrying only 10. And this is what he said. He said, this is after the first flight. It was the Boeing 247. It was a twin-engine plane that holds 10 people. It was originally designed to hold 14. This is what he said: there will never be a bigger plane built. Wow. And remember, these are experts in their field. This guy designed the plane. He went, no bigger plane's going to be built. Amazing. Interesting story about the radio. This guy, associates of David Sarnoff, responding to Sarnoff's call for an investment in the radio in 1921. David Sarnoff was a Jewish guy, and he worked for this company that made wire. And he wanted to take a Jewish holiday off. So the company said, no, you can't do that. You can't. He quit in 1919, and then he started looking around, and in 1921, he rounded up some people that wanted to, and he said, hey, what do you think about this radio technology? Please invest in it. What do you think? Let me know what you think. This is what they said: the wireless music box has no imaginable commercial value. Who would pay for a message sent to no one in particular? Wow. This David Sarnoff, interesting guy too, because he went on to work for the company that developed this. It was Radio Corporation of America, RCA. He worked for them, and do you think any of those associates of his are on the board of RCA? I don't think so. But another interesting story about David Sarnoff is here, that TV is an RCA TV in 1949. So not only did David Sarnoff know that radio was going to make a big impact, he also saw television coming to take over radio as well. So he actually had vision enough to say, yep, TV is going to be our competitor, and RCA TVs. But this is what Daryl Zanuck, a movie producer, said about TV. He wants people to go to the movie theater. He doesn't like TV. He said this: television won't last because people will soon get tired of staring at a plywood box every night. Wow. And this lady, she designed radio educational broadcasts. This is what she said: television won't last, it's a flash in the pan. Yeah, it's pretty flashy right there. This is a classic. This is Thomas Watson, chairman and CEO of IBM in the I think it was mid-50s, he said this. I think there's a world market for maybe 5 computers. Wow. Here's one about the Beatles. This is cool. Decca Records, executive to the band's manager, Brian Epstein, following an audition in 1962. This is what he said. Now keep in mind, in 1962, there were some solo artists coming up. Elvis, Frank Sinatra. It was the big band era was before that. Now these solo artists were starting to make an impact. This is what he said about the Beatles. The Beatles have no future in show business. We don't like your boys' sound. Groups are out. 4-piece groups with guitars particularly are finished. Wow. The Beatles went on to create their own record company, Apple Records, in 1968. Okay, so the government people, I wouldn't call them the most intelligent people, but this guy's, he's the chairman of the SEC. This is what he said in I think it was 1961, yeah. There is practically no chance communications space satellites will be used to provide better telephone, telegraph, television, or radio service inside the United States. Don't think so. Time magazine in 1966. Remote shopping, while entirely feasible, will flop. Remote shopping, while entirely feasible, will flop. Right. YouTube, Stephen Chen. This guy he's the co-founder of YouTube, and he had a concern about his company's long-term viability. This is what he said in 2005. There's just not that many videos I want to watch. New York Times Technology, David Pogue. This guy, David Pogue, he's an multiple Emmy award-winning journalist on TV, but he wrote for the New York Times Technology section. And this is what he said. 2006, I think late, like September or October. Everyone's always asking me when Apple will come out with a cell phone. My answer is probably never. Wow. 3 months later, January of 2007, Apple announced their iPhone. Now, granted, Apple is great about keeping secrets, right? But still, this guy's at the leading edge of technology. He should have known something somewhere. IBM. This is IBM, the eventual founders of Xerox, saying the photocopier had no market large enough to justify production. The world potential market for copying machines is 5,000 at most. Interesting, because Xerox came out with this machine called the Xerox 914. The technology that's running that machine is still in our laser printers that are running from our computers. So there's billions of photocopier technology things out there. I mean, IBM got it so wrong, it's amazing. Interesting story about the 914 also. Xerox told their customers when they bought this machine, you can't run it for very long. It'll get hot and burn. It'll cause a fire. So they actually, when they sold those copiers to customers, they included a fire extinguisher. Now keep in mind, I'm going over these things because you want to keep in mind, this is a Bitcoin conference. Why are we talking about this stuff, right? Because these are the experts, or the people that should know about things in their particular field or industry. And they say the funniest things, like, wow. So when people talk about Bitcoin in a negative way, you just go, wait a second, maybe not. Maybe they have no idea what they're talking about, whatever their status in life is. Digital, Ken Olsen. Oh my gosh, this guy really blew it. President and chairman and founder of Digital Equipment Corporation, DEC, in a talk in 1977, he said this: there is no reason for any individual to have a computer in his home. His company sold mainframes, and he sold them for about $50,000 and up. And he actually had the technology to build desktop computers and didn't use it. IBM did, and they took the market away from him. Evil guy, but he says this: 640K ought to be enough for anybody. Edmund DeJesus, journalist, year 2000, Y2K. Interesting. This is what he said in 1998. Y2K is a crisis without precedent in human history. Remember? It was a non-event. This guy, Robert Metcalfe, my gosh, he's the co-inventor of Ethernet, the CEO of 3Com, and the formulator of Metcalfe's law. We use Metcalfe's law to price Bitcoin. This is what he said. I predict the internet will soon go spectacularly supernova and in 1996 catastrophically collapse. Wow. He's a smart guy, in the know, in the industry. Co-inventor of Ethernet, for God's sakes. Apple. Okay, Apple Computer. There's a couple of other companies that were competing with Apple. One of them was Dell, and this is what Michael Dell had to say about Apple. I'd shut it down and give the money back to the shareholders. And this is what Max Kaiser said about Michael Dell. This is what he said about Michael Dell. I remember when I bought Apple stock in the late 1990s when it was valued for less than $100 million. Michael Dell publicly said that Apple should shut its doors and stop the embarrassment of being in business. 20 years later, it's approaching $1 trillion market cap, and nobody talks about Michael Dell anymore. And the number on the trillion number is your investment was 10,000-fold increase. 10,000. iPhone, classic story. This guy's entertaining. Steve Ballmer from Microsoft said this in 2007. There's no chance that the iPhone is going to get any significant market share. 7 years later, Microsoft introduced their Lumia phone in 2014. Now, I know, some of you may have had one. I know a good friend of mine, Joe Rogers, he said, that's the greatest phone ever. Like, yeah, but dude, it failed big time. First mover advantage just crushed them. They couldn't stand it. These two clowns, Charlie Munger and Warren Buffett. Charlie Munger, when Bitcoin was 150 bucks, I think it was 150 bucks, he said this, he called it rat poison. Buffett, of course, Bitcoin's over 9,000. Buffett called it rat poison squared. I mean, these guys, granted, they're billionaires, but they are wrong about technology. Wrong. No introduction necessary. They will make it through the storm regarding Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. 2 months later, they completely collapsed and the government had to take them over. Here's another one. We've been very, very clear that we will not allow inflation to rise above 2%. I did the presentation about 5 years ago and I used the 12K number. I changed it for today. When Bitcoin is over $100,000 and you still don't have any, I'm just kind of threw this slide in there because I want to put this guy's face on it. Jamie Dimon is a constant source of comedic material. I'm telling you. Look at this chart. Look at the price on the left. The top is $6,000. This is before the top in December of 2017. In 2014, he said, Bitcoin is a terrible store of value. 2015, Bitcoin will not survive. 2016, Bitcoin is going nowhere. 2017, Bitcoin's a fraud. And I'm not going to talk about Bitcoin anymore. No comment necessary, right? Bitcoin's a fraud. What price did we get in at? BlackRock's Larry Fink in 2017 said Bitcoin is an index for money laundering. Last year, he said that they're bullish on blockchain, but not Bitcoin. This year, BlackRock picks Coinbase to provide clients with direct Bitcoin exposure. I can't leave this guy out either. Krugman. This guy's a Nobel Prize-winning economist. People listen to what he has to say. He said this to Alan Greenspan, create a housing bubble to replace the NASDAQ bubble. Wow. I wonder how many people got impacted by that. He also said this in 1998, excuse me, predicted in Time Magazine's 100th anniversary edition in 1998 that the growth of the internet will slow drastically. By 2005 or so, it will become clear the internet's impact on the economy has been no greater than the fax machines. It's a classic statement. And in 2013, he wrote a blog. Bitcoin is evil. This is what he said. A Bitcoin Bitcoin standard would make the world much worse off because Bitcoin has a fixed supply and central bankers would not be able to increase the money supply to stimulate the economy. Wow, this guy's just a brilliant person. Woo! And then I'm sure he designed this solution for government stopping Bitcoin. The sign on that, if you can't see in the back, it says sidewalk closed. Can't make this stuff up. This is what Max Kaiser said. Fact is, Bitcoin is a gift from God to help humanity sort out the mess it has made with its money. Okay, so I'm going to take this is a little bit of a risky thing for me to do, but I'm going to do it anyway because I asked Gary and he said, okay, go for it. What if Bitcoin is a gift from God? I checked it out. I did a little research. Fiat distorts and robs from the many and benefits the few. We all know that. It's the cause of a lot of bad things in the world. Corruption and evil are the result. There's war, and there's death, and misery, poor people, fiat food. The list is long. I recommend reading the Fiat Standard. It's an excellent book. It's amazing how much fiat is just it's everywhere, and it's not good. There's also, it infects education systems, inflation. We know, as Bitcoiners, we know that fix the money, fix the world, okay? God doesn't like corruption and evil. He's made it well known in the Bible. In the book of Genesis, I looked this up, it's amazing to me. The name of chapter 6 in the book of Genesis is a world gone wrong. Whoa! Isn't that what we have now? We have a world gone wrong. And that's the story of Noah's Ark. And God got pissed off. People were doing bad stuff. They were evil. They were not honoring him. He said, I'll just read it to you. Now God saw the earth that had become corrupt and was filled with violence. God observed all this corruption in the world, for everyone on earth was corrupt. So God said to Noah, I have decided to destroy all living creatures, for they have filled the earth with violence. Yes, I will wipe them all out along with the earth. And that's what he did. Here's what I find interesting. He gave Noah specific building instructions to build the ark. He gave him 450 feet long, 75 feet wide, 45 feet high, leave an 18-inch opening before the roof, put a door on the side, make it out of cypress wood, waterproof it and tar it inside and out. Specific instructions, right? Satoshi describes specifically how to solve the double spend problem and solve the Byzantine general's problem. Wow. And how about this? Noah even went out and said, people, you're messing up. Repent or do whatever you need to do to get right with God, because he's going to wipe you all out. You're just going to be toast. And don't we feel like that? Sometimes talking about Bitcoin, that people laugh at us. See these people at the bottom, ladies laughing at him? They're ignoring him, like, yeah, whatever, dude. But so I kind of changed. There's the note. You see the arc on the side there, and he's got. I added this, right? I kind of feel like that sometimes. So, but when it was over, God made a promise to Noah. He said, "I will never again curse the ground because of the human race. Even though everything they think or imagine is bent towards evil from childhood, I will never again destroy all things." So he hasn't destroyed the earth, and he's made a promise not to do it. But he has intervened. He's intervened several times, many times actually. Tower of Babel. Babel. Okay, Tower of Babel. He intervened. He said, nope, can't do that, and changed everybody's language so they couldn't build the thing. Sodom and Gomorrah. Kind of wiped out the city because they didn't like what was going on. Other times. So what if Satoshi was God intervening in our evil and corrupt money system? I don't know. I'll ask him when I get to heaven, if I get to heaven. And I'm also going to ask him why he created mosquitoes. Man. So, I mean, Satoshi introduced Bitcoin, got it going, and then disappeared. The guy's gone. Either he died or, I don't know. Bitcoin replaces our 700-year double entry accounting system. Now think about that. We've been using double accounting system for 700 years. It replaces it with a consensus method. Amazing. Bitcoin is not a thing, and no entity controls it. Bitcoin is not located in a specific location. It's on a 132-year distribution schedule that's nearly impossible to stop. And every 2 weeks and every 4 years, it looks at itself and adjusts itself. No one's pushing any buttons, cranking any levers, or making any decisions. It's doing it on its own. It's like it's self-aware. I won't say it, but I know you're probably thinking it. What if, right? How about this? Satoshi wrote, I'm sure that in 20 years there will be either a very large Bitcoin transaction volume or none. So he's saying, look, I'm going to bring down this thing. It'll fix everything. It's up to you to use it. If you don't, you get nothing. If you do, it'll fix the world. Wow. So, are we early or is it too late? It's your choice. If it's early, don't wait to stack sats and wait. Thank you for listening and being Bitcoiners. That's it. Comments, questions? Yeah?
When did you become orange pilled?
When was I orange pilled? 2015. When I thought I got ripped off. I thought I got ripped off, and I went home and, okay, good, I did get my Bitcoin. Go ahead.
How many times did you have to say no before you said yes?
By the way, they're recording this, so I need to repeat the question. So it's, how many times did I say no before I had to say yes? Well, you missed the very beginning, right? Very beginning of this? Yeah. In 2010 and 11, my brother asked me to buy the Bitcoin penny stock. And I said no. Because penny stock, you're not going to do anything. So that was a big no. And in 2015, I don't remember when if I looked at it again, but in 2015, I bought my first Bitcoin. So, anyone else? Okay, we're good. How are we on time?
Really good.